Hello, I am Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be talking about the Player's Choice Godfest that is coming up for advice, as well as my predictions on who are going to be the voted in cards. So, because I like to sometimes be meme-tastic, I include a glorious image alongside of it. If you are familiar with those memes and things on the internet, I would think that's funny, but to be honest, that's kind of the reality of a lot of Player's Choice Godfests. You want those delicious diamond eggs, and you end up getting that silver. So, Player's Choice Godfest can be one of the most exciting events to occur in Puzzle & Dragons. This is because the community as a whole is able to vote in who they want to have featured. Now, this can be risky or glorious because of the fact that we can essentially build a Godfest that is highly desirable. What is the danger is that the rolling rates are not evenly distributed across the various rarities. And because of that, as well as the shifting meta towards more 6-star Godfest exclusive usage, we are going to probably run into a Player's Choice Godfest that was similar to those a couple of years ago, where they were too rarity or high rarity heavy, and which results in lower rolling overall. Now, with that being said, Pantheon cards still have relevance, but they're also pushing out 6-star Pantheon cards, which are much more rare than the regular 5-star forms. So essentially, if you can think of it like the tier of rarity is 6-star Godfest exclusives will be the most rare, 5-star Godfest exclusive plus 6-star Pantheons are about on par, and then at the bottom is 5-star Pantheons. Now, what should you vote for? So I'm not going to tell you which card you should be voting for, because what you should be voting for is a card that has relevance to yourself. Just because XYZ card is powerful for the average player, it may not have as much merit to you as ABC. So you should be voting for what can benefit you the most, because again, the whole idea is that the top 25 cards are voted in, and if you feel that your card that you want is a little less popular overall, it's worthwhile to put your vote there because of the fact that some shoo-ins are just going to make it in no matter what. Now, I do suggest you should resist the urge to vote for 6-star Godfest exclusives because they're so much rarer. And it is my understanding, of course nothing is confirmed, Gung Ho does not release this information, but it is my understanding that each card has a baseline roll value and they're augmented through Godfests. So 6-star Godfest exclusives tend to have the lowest baseline roll value. So let's say you voted in 10 6-star Godfest exclusives and their baseline value is here. Through Player's Choice Godfest, they become available, they're up to here. But 5-star Pantheon cards, say their baseline is up here, so you're much more likely to roll the 5-star. So even though there are 25 cards featured, you are not necessarily gaining as high of a hit rate for a featured card. Let's take this for example. Let's say hypothetically the entire Player's Choice was 6-star Godfest exclusives. The baseline chance of rolling them, say it's like 0.5%, so we have a total of 12.5% of rolling something featured. On the flip side, let's say a Pantheon card has a 2% chance. Obviously, it's too high, I believe, but let's just say, make it to show the extreme differences. But like, say it's a 1.5%, fine. 1.5% times 25, math is hard, 37.5% chance of rolling a featured card if they're 5 stars. Obviously, we mix and match the different rarities, but that's kind of the general gist that you can think of. So by having more Pantheon cards voted in, we're more likely to have a higher chance of rolling those featured cards. Now, why I want to also stress another thing about Pantheon cards is Pantheon cards tend to have poor cards within their own Pantheon themselves. So what I mean by that is that a Pantheon family, let's say the Chinese Celestials, like for instance, Haku is probably the most desirable one of all the Celestials. The other ones are good, but Haku is superior. So let's say we only wanted to roll Haku, which is probably the case for most players. Voting in Haku is great because normal Godfest would feature the whole Pantheon, but in this case we only have Haku featured, so we lower the chances of getting the collateral rolls of the less ideal Pantheon cards. So that's what you should try and be doing with your Pantheon votes, because you can kind of snipe out the good or desirable cards from each Pantheon, and that's going to allow you to hopefully build a better Godfest. So this obviously has more relevance for Pantheons that have weaker cards alongside of it, because certain Pantheons, like any family, have some bad eggs, even if they're gold or diamond. Like, they're just less desirable overall. So in addition to that, I strongly encourage you to vote for what is relevant now. Because of the way power creep works in PAD, yes, cards get recycled back, but we want to have value from the cards as soon as we gain them, and at least some value moving forward. Now, if we're trying to vote in a card that's on the decline, that's not a good sign, because they're going to go on the decline, they'll drop, maybe many months later, they'll get a buff and evolution and come back to relevance. But we want to try and hit those cards that are kind of on the upswing so they have as much value for as long as possible. Yes, cards do get recycled, but I strongly encourage you to try and vote for the cards that have the most relevance now. So I have done a bit of updating on my tier list, shifting a few things around, bumping things down from S, mostly bumping things down from S because they're less relevant at this point in time. So generally speaking, I feel like the cards in S have good staying power. They're going to be relevant for some period of time. One thing I should note is that some of the cards, this is just straight copy pasted from my regular Godfest posts, but some cards you can't vote for, like the Wise Dragons, just bear in mind, you can just pretend they're not there. But the idea is that those S tier cards tend to be at least more valuable, especially the ones at the S+. They're going to have a lot of staying power for a long time to come. So they're usually safer votes to vote in because they are going to have longer standing power. Obviously, as we go down and down the tier list, things get a little less ideal. Now, for comparison's sake, I have included the May 12th Pantheon tier list of what I had from beforehand. This is basically the last Player's Choice Godfest when some cards haven't been released, cards were kind of shifting around. They're on the upswing. Like you can see that Anubis was climbing up because it's starting to become more relevant with his evolution, more access to desirable cards. Diablos is coming out, that sort of idea. So like things are moving up and down. So you can see the changes that occur over time. So you can kind of see which cards have long staying power. Most of the cards in S+, actually outside of Loki, are still there today. So that is a good indication of why they're so powerful and desirable. Now, because I know people will want to vote for Godfest exclusives, ta-da, Godfest exclusive tier list. So basically the cards in S are going to be obviously more desirable for the most part. And that is true, and that's unfortunate because the cards in S are all 6-star Godfest exclusives. Now, this list here takes into consideration what we have currently and only just a tiny bit of like brief glancing over the new evolutions that are coming out in JP. I'm actually moving in 9 days or so, so I've been very busy packing. You can see Pancake Side's looking a little barer. Like, I'm spending most of my time just packing, unfortunately, so I haven't had a chance to look and review those cards, but they are stronger for the most part. But generally speaking, these are safe S tier cards overall. So, past Player's Choice Godfest trends. So, the last Player's Choice Godfest was in May of 2017, and we can see that it was actually a very healthy mix of Pantheon cards. We see that Pantheons have a large representation by comparison to Godfest exclusives, and that's because during May of 2017, Kusanagi Hime and Anubis and Dark Athena tended to reign as the top 3 most popular leaders, and for the most part, their sub-choices are really just Hakus or other Pantheon cards. So this is great because that Player's Choice Godfest was actually quite well distributed. Yes, we had some 6 stars, but it wasn't as overwhelming as it could perhaps be. This time it's going to be much more overwhelming, unfortunately. So these are my predictions for the top 25 in no particular order. It's actually the order of I copy pasting from my list, but it doesn't mean that Fujin will be number 1, but this is what I'm predicting is going to be voted in. So we will have 7 6-star Godfest exclusives, 4 5 stars, 5 6 stars, and 9 Pantheons. So I guess I could just name them all. There's Fujin, Yogg, Skald, Ilm, Nei, Amino, Ryune, Saria, Verdandi, Tsubaki, Erd, and then the 6-star Pantheons are Diao Chan, Tachibana, Nohime, Oichi, and Inahime. And then for Pantheons, we have Anubis, Liu Bei, Ganesha, Kusanagi Hime, Indra, Haku, Orochi, Isis, and Loki. Look, Isis and Loki are kind of like the stragglers, I feel, in this list. But the thing is, Dark Athena is still relevant, and Loki has merits in that team. And while Raw Dragon is definitely on the decline, Isis still has merits on mono water teams, especially Blue Hunter. She has a 3-turn based cooldown, she's bind immune, and Blue Hunter's biggest weakness is bind. So she does have purpose to fulfill there, as well as still having merits on Raw Dragon teams. Now, if I had to pick a top 3, I feel that the top 3 voted are going to be Yogg, Nei, and Skald. In some order, I don't know. I think Yogg, maybe in that order actually, Yogg, Nei, then Skald. I feel like that's going to be comprising the top 3 votes, but this is a little alarming because, again, 6-star Godfest exclusives are very heavily weighted. We have very few Pantheons, which is unfortunate, but that's also kind of a testament to where Pantheon cards are in this present state of the game. So, in conclusion, Player's Choice Godfest is a very exciting time, but I do obviously caution you against voting for 6-star Godfest exclusives. Yes, these are my predictions because this is what I feel is going to happen, but obviously I can be wrong. Now, we might have more Pantheons cards in, maybe less Godfest exclusives, or the opposite way around. It's more so what people want to have. But just bear in mind that the 6-star rolling rates are going to be much lower compared to the 5-star Pantheons. So, let me know what you think you want to vote for in the comments below. How do you feel towards Player's Choice Godfest? Do you plan on rolling heavily? And what do you think the top 25 is going to comprise of? Let me know what you think about in the comments below. Hopefully you all have a Mantastic day, and happy puzzling.